All right, well again, my name is Kendis, and like I was telling her earlier, I'm used to talking really loud in rooms, so hopefully I'm not going to blare any of you out of the room. This is an introductory to GIS, so this session has been geared towards people who are new to GIS, who maybe aren't quite sure what it is, or maybe you have GIS and you're looking to figure out how you can expand it and things of that nature. So this is an introductory course. If you have existing GIS and all kinds of GIS applications and things of that nature, you're probably going to be a little bored maybe until towards the end. So if you think you're in the wrong class, you certainly won't hurt my feelings if you have to duck out. Just want to make sure that you are getting to the session that's going to benefit you. So we're going to talk a little bit about GIS, what it is, how you can get GIS data, how you can build applications to manage your utilities. So we'll start off with a little bit about GIS. GIS is Geographical Information Systems. It's basically the concept of overlaying data on top of each other. So this is a classic visual representation of what GIS is. Being able to overlay parcels and roads and aerial photos and utilities all on top of each other so that you get a full spatial picture of where you're at and your data. Oops. A little bit about ProWest. We are made up of programmers, consultants, and technicians. There's 23 full-time people. We're out of Walker, Minnesota. We have offices in Ely and Cross Lake as well. We were established in 1987, and we build tailored GIS solutions for our clients in the utility market, web, mobile, desktop, and hybrid of all three of those. We also do data development, GPS work, and data conversion. CAD to GIS conversion is typical in the utility industry. We also do Geodatabase design and management. We are an Esri business partner for the past 26 years. We were awarded 2006 and 2010 Partner of the Year awards. Why is that important? Why is Esri important to you sitting out there? Why do you care? Esri stands for Environmental Systems Research Institute. They have about a 90% market share on GIS software that's sold here in the US. So odds are if your city or your county or your neighbors are using GIS and you work for a government agency, odds are you are using Esri technology. So when I talk today, especially when I get towards the end and I start talking about applications, and we're going to talk a little bit about how much does GIS cost, it's assuming that you are going to be thinking about or possibly using Esri technology. So basically what GIS does is it helps take the guesswork out of asset management. A lot of the clients that we work with, they're obviously using hard copy pieces of paper to track inspections, to track maintenance, to track work orders, things of that nature. They have a gut feeling about how many sewer calls happened last year or things of that nature. So GIS helps you manage and quantify those types of things. Why would you care to even use GIS? Well, you are going to eliminate or minimize your paper trail. Sometimes I get in trouble when I use the word eliminate. The paper trail is never 100% eliminated, but it can be minimized using GIS technology. You can efficiently distribute your data and your maps to your field crews, to people back in the office that are needing to keep track of work orders or disseminate work orders to those people in the field. So GIS helps you manage and distribute your data. Improve decision making and also minimizing redundant data efforts. A lot of the utility clients we work with, they are doing duplicate things all the time. So GIS allows you to have that centralized location to view your data, look at work orders, view inspections, things of that nature. GIS technology is utilized in many different aspects of the utility industry. Asset management, planning and analysis, field mobility, operational awareness, distributing information out to the public, and we'll talk a little bit about that. What's really popular right now is a term called citizen engagement, right? Everybody has a smartphone, everybody has an iPad. Giving the people in your community the capability to pop open their smartphone and tap on a map, maybe where there's a pothole or a water main break or something that's happening out there in the world. Yes, that's more work for all of you that need to process those requests, but that's where the technology and the demand is occurring out there right now. So those types of public distribution applications and needs are out there. So going into those concepts a little bit deeper, GIS allows you to centralize many aspects of what you do every day. So, and it also allows you to integrate other types of systems that you might be using. So video, televising sewer videos, things of that nature. Link those up to your GIS so when you click on a sanitary main, brings up the videos, brings up digital images maybe that you've taken of a manhole, things of that nature. Track your work orders, track your maintenance, track your inspections. Link up to existing customer information systems. All of these types of system integrations and data integrations are possible using GIS technology. So a popular thing for when you have utility data in GIS and you're managing your utility data in GIS, obviously looking at maintenance and replacement schedules. It's often used for CIP planning, so the utilities can take a look at where does our oldest infrastructure exist. The guys that are ripping up the pavement, they can look to see, okay, where are the utility people looking at possibly replacing some sewer or water main. Maybe it's a good time for us to replace the road at the same time so that we're not replacing utilities 1 year and 2 years later we're replacing the road, things of that nature. Televising, managing your televising, customer complaints. GIS is utilized in meter reading systems. I saw at the vendor fair yesterday, census metering is here. We work with St. Cloud. They use census metering systems. We help them integrate their GIS into that, SCADA systems. So lots of different aspects of your world can use GIS. Quantifying the benefits of GIS in your organization, right? There's tangible, quantifiable benefits, and there's the non-tangible types of benefits. The non-tangible types of benefits are fairly universal. Time savings, right? So you have all your work orders and all your inspection, all your maintenance in one place, on one application, so that everybody is viewing the same information at the same time. If you have wireless connectivity out in the field and people have tablets or tough books or things of that nature out in the field, they can have near real-time access to work orders that might be distributed to them and so on and so forth. So there is a time savings aspect to utilizing GIS. Reporting. We have a lot of clients that utilize their GIS asset management systems and data to help out with their annual reporting efforts. We've seen anywhere from people taking a couple weeks to do reports to taking weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks to do end of year reports. Where did I put that spreadsheet? I know that piece of paper is somewhere. Those types of things. And when that information is digital, you can generate those reports literally with a click of a button. And so we'll talk a little bit about that later. For your organization, when we sit down with someone and we take a look at quantifying the benefits that GIS might bring to them, we usually take a look at, well, where are your pain points, right? What parts of your workflow process are causing you the most headaches these days? And we'll take a look at how much time it's taking you to process one-call requests or generate certain reports or things of that nature, and help quantify how GIS might increase or decrease the amount of time spent on certain activities and to streamline your processes. There's a lot of examples. These are just a couple examples that I pulled from a couple other projects. We have one client that implemented a GIS-based one-call solution to manage their one-call tickets. They saved about $27,000 in 7 months, which pretty much paid for the application in less than a year. Big win for them. We have another client who did some return on investment work on their annual reporting and figured that they were saving about $10,000 a year just not having to figure out where stuff is anymore, or having to go around to all the different staff members and ask them, what'd you do last year? How many sewer calls did we have? Things of that nature. So there are examples out there that help you, that can help you quantify the benefit if you're trying to implement it and you need to go to your board or to your boss and talk a little bit about how GIS is really going to help you. There are lots of examples out there that can help quantify the benefit in dollars, not just time, of what it can do for you. So when you're building a GIS, what do you need? You need people, you need hardware and software, you need data. Once you have that, then you can start building applications, distributing it out to your users, and eventually, possibly, integrating it into some public applications. People is critical. You need support for your GIS. Whether that's a city council or a county board, upper management, supervisors. Other one here on the list is field users. The guys and gals in the field are the ones that are going to truly make your GIS successful, because they're the ones that are going to use it or they're not going to use it. So it's really important that when you take a look at starting up a GIS or maybe expanding it out more than what you have right now, that you take a look at the people at these different levels and form a group, form a committee, but make sure that you have someone that represents those field users and that can be a real champion for the technology out in the field. Where we see GIS fail most often is when you don't have that key person that's out there that can kind of help the others along. Because integrating GIS technology and having everybody use it out in the field doesn't happen overnight. I wish I could tell you that it did, but it doesn't. So getting at least one end user involved up front is going to pay dividends in the long run. Budgeting is the other thing. GIS costs money, of course, and GIS is not a one-time investment. GIS is a continuous investment. So plan out your first year, your second year. Put together a 5-year plan for what you think you might be budgeting for a GIS. The first year or two of implementing a GIS are going to be your most costly. Over time, that cost is going to drop. So you have your people put together. You need to talk a little bit about what your needs are. Business needs. What are they? Where are your pain points? Identify those. Prioritize those. Find where you think your biggest win is going to be. We have a lot of clients that look at their one-call process. How do they filter and manage incoming one-call tickets? In many cases, there's one person, especially in the peak of summertime, depending on how big your organization is, you might get 100 tickets a day. You might have one person whose job is to sort through all those tickets and find out where they need to go. GIS can streamline that for you so that you don't even have to sort through tickets anymore. So we see a lot of people look at their one-call process and say, gosh, if we had GIS helping us with this, it could really save a lot of time and money. So look at your pain points, identify and prioritize. So of course you need data. We'll talk about data a little bit more in depth, but you're going to want to take a look at, if you don't have any utility GIS at all, where are you going to get it? How are you going to get it? You might have curb box cards, valve cards. You might have CAD drawings from maybe an engineering vendor that you use, or maybe you have internal staff that do that. You might have hard copy maps, or you might have Billy Bob that has everything up here in his head, and he's going to retire in 2 months, and what are we going to do? That happens a lot. We had a guy that called us one time, and he said, literally, my utility guy is a small community. My utility guy, one of my main guys is going to retire. I need you to come down here and GPS and extract everything out of his head because we don't have it anywhere else. So drawing up that scope was a little odd. I can't just say extract information from his brain. So one of our technicians went down there. This guy was probably 70 years old. He'd been at this community forever. Our poor technician rode around in the truck with him, and it was in the wintertime, and he had the truck windows closed the whole time, and he was a chain smoker. So our technician I don't think he started smoking after that, but anyway, that guy ended up having a heart attack about 2 weeks later after that, after we got all the data collected and things of that nature. He lived, but those things happen. And had they not done what they did when they did, it would have been really tough to figure out where all their curb boxes were and valves were and all the information associated with it. Communication, it's tough, right? But when you're implementing a GIS, communication is key. We've seen departments, engineering, utilities, public works. We've went into organizations and seen where, the communication is almost zero between these different departments. And what's neat about a GIS-based website in particular is that you can have your GIS data and inspections and maintenance and everything funneled into this one website. So this department's doing their thing, this department's doing their thing. All their inputs being fed into one spot. So even though maybe they're not talking to each other, right, at least all their inputs are going into the same spot. And we talked a little bit about building your user group. What I didn't mention before, IT, I have IT on this list. You're going to need IT, right? They're not always the most popular people that people want to talk with, but they're critical to have on your side when you're implementing a GIS. Infrastructure. Before you can get to the fun stuff, before you can click on a hydrant on your map and view all your hydrant flushing history and all your maintenance and all that kind of thing, you kind of have to go through some of the boring parts of GIS, which is hardware and software. And I can't stress this enough. We see a lot of people go into starting up a GIS or expanding their GIS, and they really don't have the networks and the servers or the computers or the power to really make it work. If your GIS is slow, if you have a guy or a gal out in the field with their iPad trying to zoom in on a map and click on a hydrant and it takes them 3 minutes, guess what? They're not going to use it. They won't use it. And they will blame GIS. They will not think, oh, maybe it's my network is junky. They're not going to think that. They're going to say it's this GIS. So make sure that you look at your hardware and your software. There's a lot of people out there that can help you analyze what you have infrastructure-wise to determine if what you have can sustain what you want to do with GIS. When you look at hardware, you're looking at servers. So if you want to do anything web or mobile-based, you're going to need a web server. Desktops, right? If somebody's using a desktop computer unit that's 8 years old and you're trying to bring up this really cool Google aerial photo, it might take you 10 minutes. Mobile devices, we have a lot of clients that have done a lot of testing with mobile devices. There's a million different kinds out there. But you need to take a look, especially if you're out looking at distributing data or applications out in the field, right? What's going to work best for your people? Is it going to be a small handheld unit? Is it going to be a smartphone? Is it going to be a tablet? Is it going to be a Panasonic Toughbook? Lots of options. So software, key pieces of software. Geodatabase. I'll mention this a couple times. In the GIS world, a geodatabase is what your data is stored in. It's like this picture is the geodatabase and the ice is your GIS data. So it's this container and it's a piece of software and you have to buy it. And there's some free versions of it out there too. ArcGIS Server, again, these are Esri. This is Esri software, since the majority of you are probably going to be using Esri software if you aren't already. ArcGIS Server is their web software, right? So if you're going to be doing any sort of web-based applications or distributing your data via the web, ArcGIS Server is what you're going to look at. And at the very end, we'll talk about the costs of some of this stuff too. ArcGIS Desktop. You need desktop GIS software. If you are going to be out in the field GPSing, you need to come back into the office and you need to manipulate that data, that GPS data, or maybe you have CAD data that you're going to be converting or just creating GIS data from scratch. You need desktop GIS software to do that. And there's different levels of it depending on what you want to do, so lots of different price points. And there's software out there that you can view GIS data for free, right? So maybe you can't afford to do, the big fancy ArcGIS Server web software, but you have some GIS data and you want some others to be able to view it on their Toughbook or what have you. There's free GIS software out there. ArcExplorer and ArcReader is the other one. Right? So those are some other pieces of free software that's out there. So if you have data and you can't figure out how to get it out there without doing hard copy map books, there are free options. And then the last one, security, performance, networking. We have some clients that their network is just slow, it's bad, it's a bad thing for GIS, right? So this is where talking with someone who understands GIS, talking with your IT people and taking a look at your network. There's also hosting options out there as well, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But hardware, software, looking at your network, making sure you have the infrastructure to support your GIS. In my opinion, number one thing that you need to think about and make sure you have all your ducks in a row on that order. Otherwise, it's going to be really tough to get buy-in from people because their maps are going to run slow in the field, they're going to run slow on their desktop, and they're going to blame it on GIS. iPads. A little note on the trends that we're seeing. About 4 years ago, most of our utility clients were almost exclusively purchasing Panasonic Toughbooks to use in the field, either for mobile applications or for web applications. Everybody's ditching their Toughbooks these days, and they're buying iPads or they're buying other types of tablets. There's all kinds of them out on the market today. But Panasonic Toughbook, a ruggedized Panasonic Toughbook, might cost you $4,000, $4,500. An iPad's going to cost you $400 or $500. That's a lot of iPads that you can drop down a manhole. And you can buy ruggedized, cases for them. And I saw Al Roker in the Sandy hurricane with one of these things, on the news one day. So this is where people are going. Budgets are tight. And how we don't want to do, people say, well, we don't want to do hard copy map books because hard copy map books out in the truck, they're not timely. Lots of time they're not accurate, right? So we need to get digital maps out there. What's a cost-effective way we can do that? Well, this is one way that you can do it. So love or hate the whole tablet, smartphone generation, it's here, and this is where a lot of utility people are going, mainly because of budgets. This is just another rundown of GIS software. Arc Explorer is free, desktop, the 3 different versions, server. Arc Online, this is an Esri hosted service. You pay an annual fee and you can push your data out to their hosted service and distribute web and mobile applications in that fashion. So if you find out that you don't have the infrastructure or you don't have the hardware and software to support your GIS, there are hosting options as well. There's hosting options through Esri. There's hosting options through GIS vendors like ProWest and things of that nature. So there are hosting options. Another thing that I wanted to point out with software, at least through Esri, they do have something called the Small Utility ELA program. ELA is Enterprise License Agreement. It is based on the number of meter or services that you have. Don't ask me how much it costs because I don't know. Even though we're Esri business partners, we don't have access to that kind of information. It's something that you have to go through Esri for. But if you are looking at implementing or expanding your GIS, the Small Utility ELA program might be a good fit for you. You sign a 3-year agreement, you pay an annual fee every 3 years. You get as much software as you want. You can have 80 versions of desktop software out there. You get access to mobile, you get access to web. It's an awesome deal for some people, and for others it just doesn't pay. But it's something that's out there, that's an option. So when you're getting ready to distribute your GIS data out to people, number one success factor is going to be not only making sure that it's performing well, but making sure that the data that's being distributed to those people is timely and accurate. So, data. You figured out your hardware and software, you're ready to go. How are we going to get our utility data into GIS? And there's lots of different ways that you can do this, and the method that you get your utility data into a GIS and start using it, there's many different price points, and accuracy is a big thing as well. So hard copy maps that are out there. Digital CAD data can be converted into GIS. You might have curve box or valve cards that have dimensions or other pieces of information that can be transferred into GIS. record drawings, hard copy record drawings that have your pipe sizes and materials and things like that on them can be used to transfer that information into GIS. And then there's also, at least for the spatial components of your GIS, the capability then of using GPS technology to go out into the field to acquire your GIS data. And in many cases, all of this is used sometimes, because you have some piece of information that's only recorded in CAD, and maybe something else that's only in a hard copy map book, and maybe something else that's only you can get off a record drawing. So this is where you need to look at what you have and determine what source data is going to be used to get your data into GIS. And then of course, the person's head, right? The people that have all that great knowledge about your utility infrastructure that none of those things can give you. So one thing you need to look at also with data is you're not just necessarily looking at your utility data, but you need to have good base data. If you have a map with just a bunch of hydrants and water mains on it, it's really not going to mean much to you unless you have roads, maybe an aerial photo, maybe some parcels. This information can be readily available. Government agencies are supposed to share GIS data with each other. So if you have a county that maintains roads and address points and parcel data, take them out for a beer or something and get some data from them. Don't have any base data. There are free sources out there to get base data, not parcel data, but at least aerial photos and roads data. And I have a link on here to arcgis.com. This is an Esri service. It's free, and you can access Microsoft Bing aerial photos, roads, and other pieces of base data, topos, contours, and things of that nature that would be beneficial to use in conjunction with your utility data. All right, so when we talk about how you get your data, how you get your utility data created, accuracy always comes up. And I don't want to spend too much time on accuracy, but I do just want to point out a few things. One, with GPS technology, you can do survey, centimeter, meter types of accuracy. The more accurate you want your utility data in GIS, the more expensive it's going to be. And there's all sorts of equipment that you can get to facilitate a GPS project if you're doing it yourself. Receivers, backpack units, all different kinds of options there. When looking at your CAD data, we see there's a misconception, and we see this a lot. People say, hey, ProWest, we have all this CAD data. It's going to take you 5 minutes to convert this into GIS. Go to it. $500. Okay. Well, lots of times what happens with CAD data is that CAD data is not created or maintained with a projection system, i.e., meaning that CAD data knows where it is in the world. It's just created like if I were to draw a map on this wall or just out in space somewhere. And that's how we see a lot of legacy CAD data maintained. Nobody ever told that CAD data where it was in the world. And when you go to create your utilities, and if you never told that CAD file in the very beginning where it was in the world, you can get it there, but it's not going to be as accurate. So CAD data can be a very efficient, economical way to convert that CAD data into GIS without a lot of costly effort, but it's going to depend on how that CAD data was maintained. We also see a lot of messy layering schemes in CAD, so for those of you who use CAD, sometimes you might find hydrants on 4 different layers in CAD, and then trying to find all those and combine them. And so CAD data can be really good or not. Yep.
Do you, with the towns that you've worked with, we kind of have that problem where we've created our own projection. Can you explain to me why people do that?
Why they create their own projection?
Yeah, instead of using something that's standard that works with all these other ones, like normally the 83 or whatever.
Yeah.
We have our own projection. I don't even understand how we got there, but that's what we use as CAD. And now talking about upgrading, and I've transformed it. I don't even remember how the heck I did it, but it was a nightmare.
I agree with you. I hate projections. They're terrible.
But is there any background on that? Why is there so many different options?
Well, the standard projection that's used for cities and counties in Minnesota is what's called a county coordinate projection. That's what you're going to see most often. And for those of you who might have been involved with surveying or maybe your own GPS work, county coordinate projection will mean something to you, or a coordinate system will mean something to you. The clients that we have had that have went out on their own to create their own projection system have done it for accuracy. They feel that the county coordinate system isn't accurate enough, so they go out and they create their own. So that's what I've seen. There might be other reasons, but it usually has stemmed from someone in the organization that for whatever reason felt that the county coordinate system was not going to provide accurate enough results. Is typically what we've seen.
So how come like the layers you get on the internet that are free or whatever, why are they not in that county coordinate?
Why is the free data not in county coordinates?
Because they don't overlay each other.
Right. We can maybe chat afterwards, but projections.
Okay.
But yeah, the free data sources out there are going to be in latitude, longitude coordinates. Your data might be in county coordinates. As long as all this data that you're using has a coordinate system defined in your GIS data, you are going to be able to overlay it. So if you can't overlay it, you're having some projection issues. But we can talk about that later. This is what happens when you don't have a projection system defined. Your data's out here in Mexico somewhere. The other thing that you need to take a look at when you're looking at CAD is that a lot of times CAD data, when it's maintained, it has lots of symbols and lots of things on it that allow you, that when you convert it into GIS, your hydrants don't snap to your hydrant laterals, and your hydrant laterals don't snap to your mains, and nothing is connected. So if you want to do hydrological modeling or anything like that, it becomes an issue. Linking to other systems, the one thing that I wanted to point out with this, if you want to link your data to any sort of existing system, like a customer information system or something of that nature, you want to make sure that your data has unique IDs. Every hydrant has a unique ID, every valve has a unique ID. I've given PhD theses on the concept of unique IDs. Don't bang your head against the wall. It doesn't have to be fancy, it just has to be unique. But when you do your GIS and you develop it, you got to make sure that there's something in place that allows you to maintain and create those unique IDs. And then also make sure that you're taking a look at how you're going to maintain your data, going back to making sure that your data is disseminated in a timely and accurate way. So do you have the resources in-house to do it? Do you need to contract that out? Things you need to think about. So just a few slides on applications. So you have your infrastructure, you went out, you GPSed all your data, you have pipe sizes and materials, and you have all this information, you're maintaining it, you have your iPads, everybody's out there clicking on hydrants, viewing info, tracking inspections, doing all that. Now what do we do with it? Well, there's a lot you can do. If you're looking at web-based applications, Esri has a lot of free templates out there. They have something called the Operations Dashboard, where you can bring your utilities into this web template. You can print off of it, you can do searches, find all the water mains that are older than, that are more than 30 years old, things like that. So there's a lot of free resources out there to get you started. This is a free mobile template. So if you need to be able to take your data out into the field and you don't have wireless internet access, they have templates out there, free templates out there that allow you to do that. One-call ticket management, I mentioned this earlier. A lot of people look at their one-call ticketing process to streamline, and we've had people actually justify their entire GIS budgets and implementation by implementing a one-call solution. Points on a map represent a ticket point location. Ticket information down here, you're out in the field, you get tickets constantly, and with the power of GIS, those one-call tickets can be automatically filtered so that somebody doesn't have to manually do that. Streamlines the one-call ticketing process immensely. A few screenshots of just some maintenance items. Click on a water main, view the maintenance history. There could be 20 different people entering in maintenance information into your GIS on a web-based or mobile application. Everybody's going to see that maintenance history, right? Everybody's going to be able to type in their own comments so that if there's something weird going on out there, you can look back in the history to see what maybe somebody else did for it. Being able to track, we have people track using their GIS to track their operators and how much time they're spending out in the field. Being able to tag things as either preventative or critical maintenance, and being able to generate reports on how much time are we spending doing certain maintenance activities that are preventative versus critical. We have people out there doing their water sampling out in the field, and they can use a web application. This is showing the chlorine levels at different sampling locations. So anybody can jump on the website at any time and see this chart of the chlorine levels. They also, if the chlorine level is, I forget whether it's higher or lower than a certain number, email notifications are sent out to people. Same with water main breaks. If there's a water main break, automatic email notifications get sent out. Searching capabilities in GIS, screenshot of different searches. Once you get your data into your GIS, you want to be able to get it out. Maintenance searches, inspection searches. Give me, this one here says, show me all the mains that need flushing this month. Click on it, highlights on the map, they can print a report, off they go. Reporting. All different types of reports are possible to generate from your GIS once you get data in. So here's just an example of sanitary structures, manhole inspections, repairs, composite samples, being able to take that information and compile it based on day, month, or year, export it out to Excel, generate a PDF. All these things are possible once you have your GIS and you start getting data in it. Here's a sample report list that we did for a client for sanitary sewers. Sewer calls, routine flushing. Where are the water main breaks? Show those on a map. Tracking customer comments. This is a big thing. So many people throughout an organization might be taking calls from the public of stuff that's going on out there. Use your GIS to track that kind of information. Put a point on the map that indicates where that call came from, and then track that information. So here, this is for a water distribution client. tracking the customer information, what was wrong, and if somebody went out and did water sampling, being able to record that information as well. Citizen engagement, the public. This is a free mobile application that you can plug your GIS data into. It can be used on tablets and smartphones for people to enter in requests out in the field, and that can be fed directly into a GIS. And just in recap, success of a GIS is determined by the people who use it. Get end users involved, make sure they have input in what you're doing. And then just very briefly on costs, desktop GIS software, there's free stuff out there depending on what you want to do that may or may not work. Otherwise, at least for Esri desktop software, it's going to start at a basic level of $1,500 per computer. ArcGIS Server, which is the web software, again, depending on what you're doing, you're looking at a $10,000 to $40,000 investment in web and mobile types of technologies. Or you can do the Arc Online hosting, which I believe starts at about $2,500 a year, depending on what you're doing. And application development, like some of the apps that I just showed you here, across the board, as far as how much that costs and what would need to be done. And also to note, there's off-the-shelf GIS-based asset management systems, and there's customized asset management systems, and there's pros and cons to both. So talk to your neighbors, talk to ProWest, talk to people, find out what works best for them. The biggest thing that you have to remember with off-the-shelf applications is that oftentimes they won't allow you to customize. So you sometimes have to change your workflow to match that application. Where sometimes when you do a more tailored solution for your particular workflow, you can keep your existing workflow and build an application around your workflow. And there's pros and cons to both, and there's different price points to approaching application development either way. My cards are
by the door,
back there on the door. So if you have questions, if you need help on figuring out what software you need, things of that nature, feel free to take my card, or if you want copies of the PowerPoint, or I'm not sure, do they get posted anywhere on the...
I think if we have them, we post them on the web.
Okay, all right. Well, hopefully it gets posted somewhere. If not, grab my card and I'd be happy to email you the presentation, but I won't be doing that until Wednesday because after this I'm going to Arizona on vacation. So, but grab my card, thanks for your time, and good luck with your GIS.